Good afternoon, my name is Sally Mathews, and I am doing a presentation today for my CE300 class. My topic is dementia and reminiscence therapy. This presentation normally would be about career choices and opportunities, but since I'm a non-traditional student and I already know my career path, I'm being allowed to do it just a little differently than everybody else. So, dementia and reminiscence therapy is my topic. I'm sure everybody has heard a little bit about dementia. Recently, especially, it seems like it's getting more attention. But dementia is actually just a general term for the decline in mental ability that is severe enough to interfere with your daily life. So just because you think you've lost it or you're having a bad day, that doesn't mean you've got dementia. It has to really be severe to be dementia. And actually, in order for it to be designated as dementia, the symptoms have to be quite significant, and you have to be impaired in at least two of the core mental functions, which are memory, communication and language, ability to focus and pay attention, reasoning and judgment, and visual perception. So depending on what your cause of your dementia is, it could be any two of those or even more than two, but you have to be significantly impaired in at least two of them. And Alzheimer's disease is the most common cause of dementia. Now this is kind of a big graph with numbers and a lot of letters on it, but to just kind of summarize what you're seeing up here, this is a graph of, it's actually started in 2010, it goes through 2050, and these are the millions of people 65 or older with Alzheimer's disease, or what they anticipate are going to have Alzheimer's disease. And because of how good medical attention has gotten, different things that we can do, and overall lifestyles and things like that, people are really surviving into their 80s and 90s and even into the hundreds, and those numbers just keep increasing. And I myself am part of the baby boomer group generation, and I'm actually on the very late end of it because I was born in '62. So, but all these other people in my age, or in my group, we're all starting to retire, and they're starting to get closer to 65. And since that generation is so big, it really is having an impact on the figures. By 2030, we're going to see a substantial increase, but when you get into 2050, it really ramps up in new cases. So 13.8 million people are going to have dementia. This is in the United States, not in the world, and have Alzheimer's disease. And these facts really are pretty interesting. I don't think people think so much about this because they think about cancer and they think about, diabetes or other diseases that you hear a lot about. You've got pink ribbons for breast cancer and all the other awarenesses, but Alzheimer's disease is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States. So there are 10 leading causes. It is the 6th one. And out of the 10 top causes for death in the United States, it's the only one that can't be cured. It can't be prevented. We can't do anything about it. There's nothing we can do. Every 67 seconds, somebody in the U.S. gets Alzheimer's disease. And this is a pretty staggering fact here. 1 in 3 seniors die with Alzheimer's or another dementia. And if you figure that most people have 4 grandparents, one of your grandparents are likely going to be affected by this. A lot of verbiage, but they're really important statements, and I put them up there because you're welcome to read, but I talked about the old and how old people are getting, but we now have a thing called the oldest old, which are the 85 and over population, which really surprised me. I didn't know about the oldest old. And between 2010 and 2050, that oldest old is going to go from 14% of the population over 65 to 20. So that's an additional 13 million oldest old. That's a lot of really old people. So, and once you get over 65, you're at your highest risk for Alzheimer's. And when you get to 85, you're at an even greater risk. So we're growing older. We've got, I don't know about you guys and your families and that, but it's not unusual to have 3, 4, 5 generations together for a picture. I mean, it really isn't. So, and an interesting term I came upon in my research was sandwich caregivers and how common this is becoming. And that's actually where we'll say it's me, and I'm taking care of my parents and I'm taking care of my children all in the same house at the same time. That is becoming more and more common. So a lot of seniors, they want to stay in their houses as long as they can. When my dad passed away, he was 60, and my mom doesn't have Alzheimer's disease, she has Huntington's disease, which is another dementia. It's a terrible disease, but so me and my sisters ended up taking care of my mother because my dad was gone. So, and she's since passed, but a lot of what I've done with research all kind of goes back to her. So I talk about caregivers and sandwich caregivers, and I'm going to talk about reminiscence therapy and how it can help. But one thing that we have to remember when we're talking about ways to help people and make them feel good is that these caregivers that are helping them, they're working full-time jobs, they've got kids, careers, they've got stuff going on. But not only do we want them to do therapies and things with them to make them feel better, you look at how many are doing the activities of daily living, like 43% are getting them in and out of bed. They're taking them to the toilet. They're dealing with diapers and incontinence. They're dealing with tube feedings. These are regular people that, any of you guys could be caring for a parent and you're dealing with a tube feeding and things like that. You take all that stress with a full-time job, with full-time caregiving in your house with your kids, major stressor for both the caregivers and people with dementia. These are interesting. By 2015, which is last year, Alzheimer's costs the nation $226 billion. By 2050, we're looking at over $1 trillion it's going to cost the nation. And with this year's budget, they allocated an additional $350 million for research for Alzheimer's, specifically for Alzheimer's. That's a 60% boost, which means they're starting to see this is really going to impact us. So what I am most interested in is reminiscence therapy, and I can go into all the details of what it is, but what it really is making somebody remember something. And if you look at, I know whether it's me and my child or my sister or you guys, might say, I remember when I was in school, I told someone the other day, in school growing up, they had these mimeograph machines, and we would get the copies in our classroom of our worksheets, and the first thing you do is put it up to your face and smell it. And I can still smell that like I could smell it then, because it's a big memory for me. So anything that we can do to bring back a memory for anyone, and not specifically the memory, but the feeling that comes with it. We want to bring that back, bring that joy, and that joy, therefore, it helps for their overall quality of life, because it helps improve depression and things like that. Big deal. Things that we can use for reminiscence therapy, of course, like photo books and videos and flashcards, a lot of really simple things. And I guess the most meaningful thing that you can do for reminiscence therapy is to be a part of it, to be the one interacting. Having someone to sit with you and go through these things and talk to you is a big deal. All kinds of places online, stores that you can buy reminiscence therapy products. Some examples are just DVDs, an old Sears and Roebuck catalog, so they can see things that were in catalogs when they grew up. The books of Bruce Fashion and movie stars. And then this product here is actually a digital product that deals pictures. So, in a nutshell, I'll sum up that, over half of the people over 65 are using Facebook. And well over half of those are active users, are using it all the time. So there's a great need to build products and to gather content for the upper generations. And we can really take a step forward in technology and apply that to reminiscence therapy. So I think that when reminiscence therapy is successful, it's going to benefit the health and quality of life of not just the people with dementia, but the people that are caring for them. And in summary there, you're only as old as you remember you are. So you can think about that, and I believe that. But that's my presentation. I thank you for sitting in on it.
All right, well done.